The Newsday continues here on One News Now. I'm Charles Lejano. This just in, the camp of presumptive President Bongbong Marcos has nominated vlogger and radio commentator Trixie Angeles as the head of the Presidential Communications Operations Office, or PCOO. Marcos Jr. spokesperson Attorney Vic Rodriguez says Angeles has accepted the nomination. Stay tuned here on One News for the latest on this story. Meanwhile, over 130 monkeypox cases have been recorded globally. That's why local health authorities are now looking into ways for Filipinos to stay protected against this re-emerging virus. JC Cosico reports.
The health department is now coordinating with the immigration and quarantine bureaus, including port authorities, for heightened border controls. That's in order to prevent the possible entry of monkeypox to the Philippines.
Kasabay nito yung pagbabantay, physically looking if there are any skin lesions which would make them suspect that these might be monkeypox cases.
There will also be designated isolation and quarantine facilities for monkeypox cases, which will be classified as a notifiable disease.
Lahat ng mga individual under investigation o mga kaso kaugnay sa monkeypox ay dapat na agarang mai-report sa Epidemiology Bureau at mga concerned Regional Epidemiology and Surveillance Units natin or RESU. Lahat na makukuhang samples ay dadaan sa masusing pagsusuri ng laboratorio gamit either ng ating RT-PCR pati na rin ng full genome sequencing.
Currently, there are over 130 monkeypox cases around the world. Germany, which has recorded a case, has called on citizens to be observant of symptoms after experts earlier warned that monkeypox can be transmitted through sex. But for now, the World Health Organization says this situation can still be controlled.
As surveillance expands, we expect that more cases will be seen. This is a containable situation, particularly in the countries like where we are seeing these outbreaks.
To date, there's no definite antiviral drug for monkeypox, but smallpox vaccines were found to be effective for the disease. Although there is no FDA-registered smallpox vaccine yet in the Philippines. That's why the government is now looking for ways to get supplies, either through entering into bilateral agreements or donations from other countries. For News 5, JC Cosico, we are One News.
With more people contracting the monkeypox disease in several countries, one health expert explains what we need to know about this virus. Let's listen in.
The eradication of smallpox was one of the greatest achievements in human health and public health history. But of course, it's left the world without immunity to pox viruses. So it's not surprising to start to see more cases occur when people are exposed.
Monkeypox is a misnomer. First discovered in the late 1950s when pox-like outbreaks occurred in monkeys kept for research. But monkeys aren't the source. The host species isn't yet known, though it's thought rodents play a role. After an incubation period of usually 1 to 2 weeks, the disease starts with fever, muscle aches, fatigue, and other flu-like symptoms.
Monkeypox transmission usually occurs with just human-to-human contact transmission or large droplets. But those droplets are large. You'd have to be in pretty close proximity. This is not something that is airborne or aerosolized. It really is just supportive care, symptomatic treatment, and really importantly, isolation of the patient so that we don't see onward transmission. Two different clades of monkeypox. So there's the Central African clade, which is more transmissible and more virulent, is associated with a case fatality rate of about 10%, versus the West African clade, which is what we're seeing circulate in populations and being imported from West Africa, which is associated with a much lower fatality rate, about 1% or less than 1% of cases. The cases of monkeypox that have been identified in the the Western Hemisphere in high resource settings have not been associated with a high rate of mortality, and that probably has to do with very good supportive care. Right now, we don't have an answer to this, and it's going to be very important to learn how this virus is going to work and operate, transmit, present itself now that it's in a different population and has opportunity to spread. We do need to be always getting in front of these viruses instead of chasing behind it.
Experts warn of a possible uptick in cases by mid-June, following COVID-19 subvariants in the country. And they are also expressing concern over the slowing pace of vaccination. Mobile journalist Jacob Lazaro gives us the front seat to this story.
While it might seem that the post-election surge in COVID infections is out of the picture, the health department is already raising alarm bells on an uptick in infections. Just last week, daily COVID cases grew by close to 10% from the week before. Epidemiology Bureau Dr. Alethea de Guzman says this is most noticeable in Luzon and NCR.
Bagaman mababa na ang ating mga kaso, kinakailangan pa rin nating i-monitor ang mga pagtaas na ito.
Octa now sees cases peaking by mid-June, although at milder than the outbreak in January. In a worst-case scenario, the think tank projects cases in the country to reach 2,000 to 3,000 daily. Fellow Guido David attributes the increase to the Omicron subvariants detected in the country.
We're not likely to see another lock. These are still subvariants of Omicron. So our immunity protects us at some level.
The pace of vaccination has slowed down in recent months, and David is concerned over the waning immunity of the vaccinated. The general rule is the immunity of the fully vaccinated and even those who had been boosted begins to wane after 3 to 6 months. But since the overall immunity will not wane all at the same time, David said the wall of immunity should still hold.
So we're hoping that the wall of immunity will hold. But even if we have a surge, it won't be as bad as in January. We could have maybe a few thousand cases with not a lot of hospitalization.
But experts remind that there is no room for complacency. To assure the prevention of a serious surge, the public is still urged to get vaccinated and to observe the basic health protocols. Mobile journalist Jacob Lazaro, we are One News.
We have more breaking news. Free rides over the MRT3 are once again extended until June 30. The Transportation Department says this aims to lessen the impact of the rising fuel prices. We'll be back with more stories after a quick break. Keep it here on One News. You're still watching One News Now. I'm Charles Lejano. Bienvenido Laguesma says his first priority as the incoming Labor Secretary is to look into the DOLE's capabilities and readiness when it comes to program implementation. Speaking to One News' The Big Story, Laguesma noted that he does not have the magic wand or the quick solution to the country's labor issues. But he says he will make sure that the Labor Department becomes more responsive and action-driven. In terms of addressing ENDO or issues on contractualization, Laguesma says he aims to consult with affected sectors as well as Congress to spot the abusive provisions in the labor code. Citing the law, he says not all job contracting is illegal. But as labor chief, Laguesma vows to put a premium on dialogue and consultation between employers and laborers.
It's quite a difficult balance, but I believe that with the cooperation, support, and understanding, as well as respect from each sector, it's not impossible to find a solution. No, it might not be a perfect solution, but I think we move towards the direction na magkaroon ng kasiguruhan ng trabaho. Trabaho na medyo pwedeng ipagmalaki ng mga manggagawa at pwede namang suportahan ng mga employer.
Here's a quick look at some of today's headlines. Congress sitting as the National Board of Canvassers eyes to proclaim the President and Vice President today. COMELEC is set to begin their preparations for the Barangay and Sangguniang Kabataan elections. And presumptive President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. visits the wake of veteran actress Susan Roses. And those are the top stories at this hour. Join us again later at 2 p.m. as we continue to monitor the day's biggest stories. You can also catch One News on the Signal Play app. Register for a free account at www.signalplay.com so you can stream One News live anytime and anywhere. I'm Charles Lejano. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. We are One News.